to start off with an interesting talk about the future, and a future where there are robots everywhere. Robots doing your job for you, robots driving your car, robots helping your children solve math problems, just basically robots doing everything. In that future, will robots have legal rights? I'm going to go ahead and let you start this, Wendell. What do you think? Will they have legal rights?
Here's how it's going to play out. It's going to be real bad. See, we were talking last time about, the human depravity and Christopher Columbus. And I think that before we have sentient robots and before we have, other things, that the reason that we're going to need these types of laws, a lot of these places are not talking about, this article included, and that is we will be sort of allowed, if not encouraged, to explore the depths of human depravity. And I'm not really sure that that's a good thing. It's probably a Pandora's box for society because, what's to stop you from having a sex slave robot, or what's to stop you from having, some really, really dark things in human desire that are not healthy things to have. I mean, if you have that with a robot, it's a very, technically, I mean, you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, things that are illegal now with animals, or things that are, and not sexual things necessarily, but, torture, and just really, human beings are really, really messed up creatures, if you think about it. And so I'm not sure that it's going to be a good thing for advancing society that you have robots that are going to be put in this position, not because they're going to suffer, but because humanity will be worse off, if that makes sense. Like, that's a whole dimension of it that I don't think anybody's really talking about. In this specific article, they're talking more about robots being manufactured to safety standards and things like that. Because, at the beginning with factories, with automation, it's like, well, this machine, if we put 35 cents more parts on here, there could be a safety that'll stop it from chopping off your arm. And it's like, maybe we should do that at the federal level. So there's all kinds of those things as well. Just manufacturing standards. Like, you can't, a new automotive manufacturer could not manufacture an unsafe car, which is why, Elon Musk of the Tesla went out of his way to make those cars as safe as possible. Because if they weren't insanely way safer than normal cars, and it was and he was at a competitive advantage, normal car manufacturers would try to crucify him to say that, electric cars are inherently unsafe and blah, blah, blah. We've seen it in all industries going back to the dawn of the industrial age. And so the same thing is going to happen with robots. As soon as you have a household robot, it's like, hey, household robot, go kill someone. It's like, okay, sounds good. It's not going to, it doesn't have the capacity to reason before it'll be able to carry out basic tasks. And so, is the person responsible for misusing it? To what extent is the manufacturer liable? All of those things are going to enter into it. But I think there's going to be a whole other class of laws with people that are doing things that are just really disturbing with robots, and I don't even want to think about that.
I guess kind of the current laws, it would be the same as if you were to do something lewd with your couch. As long as you don't do it on your balcony, or as long as you don't do it at Walmart, you're okay. Just as long as just do it at home and you'll be fine. But I mean, if you did that with a robot,
there are no real boundaries when we're talking about a couch. But it's like, are there escalating behaviors? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to make any blanket statements. And if it sounded like I did not mean it to be like that. It's a really disturbing thing to think about, and I think it's going to take scholars a long time to figure out.
I mean, I guess I'm kind of thinking of it in a far future sense, farther future than what you were just thinking about. Like, the singularity occurs. Robots are self-aware, and they're walking around, and they're among us, and they're doing things. I feel like at that point in time, the laws for them are going to be the exact same as the laws are for us. Like, they're not going to be able to, if they murder someone, they'll be held accountable, or they'll be terminated, or immediately switched off.
Well, what about the owner?
If they steal, that's a good question. There's gonna be, because a lot of times the owner, it's going to be his fault because the owner is going to have ordered that robot to do so. So that's where that's where it's going to be a really strange gray area, because people are going to have to figure out, did the robot malfunction? Was he instructed to do so? Why did this occur?
We're back to the whole knife and a toaster argument. It's like, well, the manufacturer is at fault because I should have never been able to shove my knife in the toaster in the first place. And so it's like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe there's something to that. It's kind of a Pandora's box.
Well, I mean, okay, a toaster is not self-aware. That's the big difference here. A robot is self-aware, and a robot. I would imagine that they will be programmed not to harm human beings, but does that mean that
I don't think they're going to have a I think
the
problem is that they're not going to have a concept of what it means to harm a human being. I mean, it's like Timmy Robot. Give Bob a hug until he's not breathing anymore. Okay, sounds good. The robot doesn't know, and so it's really going to be a question of product liability and to what extent the operator is responsible. I mean, demolition machines, very large bulldozers, wrecking balls. These kinds of machines really don't have a lot of safety measures. They have some safety measures to protect the operator. But if you have an operator that goes rampaging with one of these heavy pieces of equipment, it's bad news bears. And we've seen the case where the Army ROTC or the National Guard's in town for a parade or something, and they bring a tank, and the guy that's had enough with his boss is like, "Oh, I'm going to get in the tank," and it's like, well, how do we stop a tank? I mean, as militarized as the American police force has become, the crazy guy in the tank is still pretty unstoppable, as we've seen, over the years.
And from playing GTA.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that with robots. I mean, and to what extent is the guy that, is the tank manufacturer responsible? No. Should it have better safeties? I don't know. Is the federal government responsible? These have played out in lawsuits, over the years. Some with very high profile. And when you have robots in there, just the anthropomorphic tendency of an individual is like, oh, it looks like a human being, therefore it's sentient. No, it's going to be a terrible boondoggle, and there's going to be all kinds of bad legal precedents set, and it's going to be a terrible, terrible mess. And I think that it's going to stunt robotics. I think a lot of the self-driving cars and robotics and things like that are going to be stunted because of these legal issues, because the companies that have money, like Google, has got the money to put massive R&D into these kinds of things, but they also are taking on massive liability, I think, because what if one of their robots, is implicated in one of these things? The sky's the limit as far as liability goes. Insurers aren't going to want to touch it. It's just a mess.
I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments. We might bring this back up and read a few of your comments, especially if they highlight some things that we missed, or maybe if they hit a perspective or an angle that we didn't quite cover in this. I'm really curious about all this stuff. It's going to be the future.
I really do think that the first thing that comes from all the robots is just the most depraved things humans can come up with, and then other stuff other than that that's good for society. But it's just going to be bad. It's going to be really bad.
But surely that will only occur in Japan.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing, I guess. I don't know, but I've seen some stuff, and it's real bad.
I know what's going to happen in Japan. Robot underwear vending machines. You like the smell of metal on your underpants? Well, there's going to be a vending machine for that coming to a neighborhood soon near you. That's the business I want to be in. Never mind. All right. Let's take a look, speaking of the future, of the brand new Retina display on the iMac. It's not a 4K, it's a 5K display. The resolution is 5120 by 2880. That is like 4 1440p monitors, which is going to be beautiful when it comes to scaling. This is a 27-inch screen, by the way. They're claiming it's the highest definition screen ever. Aren't there 8K displays that are higher than this? It doesn't seem. Maybe it has like some of the craziest. Yeah.
Again, it's just the whole Apple. We invented everything. And it's like, come on now, come on.
Yeah, it's probably a Samsung panel, mind you. I'm not sure who's making the panel, but I guarantee you this is not an Apple-made panel or an Apple-designed panel. They just paid a lot of money to have it, and it's going to cost you a lot of money, but you're going to get a pretty nice-looking panel here. Are these things even going to be able to handle 5K? I mean, they're putting like what is it, the GTX, or not even GTX, it's an R9 290 M290X, so it's the mobile version of the 290X, which is decently fast, but it's like, what, 2 point something?
It's about equivalent to a 7970.
That's not terrible. Yeah, which would be a GTX. I mean, I keep saying GTX. Man, I've got all these GTX graphics cards sitting around here.
What's wrong with you, man? That's not even the right color.
I don't even know. I don't even know. My brain is green and red today instead of. Oh no, it's green and green today instead of red. But all the gaming stuff has red on it.
The magical thing about this is that it's 4 times. It is like as if you've got 4 27-inch monitors. 2560 by 1440 is the magic resolution for me. And so it's 27-inch, 2560 by 1440, the monitor resolution and size dimension and pixel density that I have come to know and love. and they've taken each one of those pixels and they've divided it into 4 pieces, 4 equal size pieces. And so each pixel is now 4 pixels. And so the equivalent resolution, or how it's going to show up in your applications and things, is 2560 by 1440. They're just going to double it up. It's going to be real sharp, because at 2560 by 1440, that is already a considerably higher pixel density than 1920 by 1200 at 24 inches, which is the other resolution that I've logged the most hours on. And so that it's 5K is not really too surprising. That's really good. It's a good move for Apple. That's probably the magic resolution as far as that goes. In terms of like being able to push that many pixels for gaming, no. The R9 290, the mobile version,
nope,
not gonna do it. It's just not gonna do it. Even 2560 by 1440 is pushing it on that mobile display. And there's not official specs on this yet, but I think on the Thunderbolt, at least right now, the maximum supported resolution on the Thunderbolt ports is 3840 by 2160. So that's kind of an ouch. Hopefully they'll change that. Hopefully it won't be a hardware problem. I don't have official reports of that, but there's some little footnotes and things that talk about 3840 by 2160 on external displays and some of the Apple specs that are out. And so if that's the case, if you can't run that 5K externally and they're not going to have, Thunderbolt displays that are 5K, I'm going to laugh derisively.
From here on out, I believe that we should 1366 by 768 will be known as the Satan resolution, or the devil resolution, and 5K will be the Jesus resolution, or what's a better deity? The Odin resolution. Yes, that's what it is. We'll have an epic deity like that. Yeah.
I've got pretty good eyesight, and 2560 by 1440 at 27 inches from a comfortable viewing distance, I can't really say that I could see individual pixels.
I can't either.
So I mean, yeah, text is probably going to be a little bit more legible, especially if the display is brighter. I mean, it's just going to be a hair more legible, and so it is. I guess it is truly Retina in that there's no way you can discern pixels at that resolution, and you're not going to be close to the monitor in that sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how this display standard plays out. But after having used 24-inch and 27-inch 4K monitors, I think the 27-inch 2560 by 1440 is still the resolution for me, because of the amount of real programs that I can fit on the screen and have it still be legible. It looks weird when it's 4K at 27-inch because it's trying to be 1920, and it looks weird at 4K on a 24-inch trying to run up the resolution because the scaling is weird. Could be because of the Windows platform. The Windows platform admittedly is much more terrible than the Mac platform for scaling, but hopefully Microsoft will fix that by the time Windows 10 rolls around.
Hopefully, maybe, please. Speaking of crazy pixel densities, let's take a look at the Nexus 9 tablet that's just been unveiled. Surprisingly, it has a 4x3 display, 2048 by 1536. They traditionally have a 16 by 9 display. I don't exactly know how I feel about this. It's an 8.9-inch display. I think 4K will be really good for reading ebooks and that sort of thing. And for this size, it's going to make it a little bit difficult. These things are already too big to be used with one hand, but it's going to be a little bit wider of a device, but not totally against it. It's going to be pretty powerful. It's going to have the 64-bit Tegra K1 processor. Yeah, it could be interesting. $400 for the 16 gigabyte model. That's going to be expensive though.
All the new Google devices do look pretty interesting, and there were some people that were complaining about the Nexus, the whole. I guess the Nexus 6 pricing. It's like, the pricing is up again. It's down. It's up. Well, not
$650,
really.
yeah.
The Google Nexus was also ludicrously expensive, and then on contract, I think it was $300, and so. The Moto X, I think on contract is like $50 or $100. It's a pretty good value, but it's only 1920 by 1200, or I think 1920 1080p, I think, display. So this is like QHD.
Yeah, we got the 2560 by 1440. There it is, the Odin resolution or a derivative thereof. Android 5 is going to be. Android 5 is going to be interesting as well. I'm quite looking forward to that. I believe we've been promised. All the 1+1 people have been promised a speedy upgrade to Android 5. We'll see how long that is. Also interesting here is 3220 milliamp hour battery life. That's going to last a long time. But again, on both of these devices, we're not going to get an SD card slot. No micro SD card slot for you guys. Yeah. And I've been so
you are
frustrated.
Gonna get 32 and 64 gig, which on the Moto X you've only got 16 and 32, and 16 is just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have right now on the, I don't think anyone on the planet has the 16 gigabyte version of the OnePlus One. I've got the 64 gigabyte version of the OnePlus One. But I've been so frustrated lately by all these, I just don't have a good MP3 player out there that can hold my music library, which is over 100 gigabytes. 128 gigabytes is cutting it close. I can get a micro SD card like that, but I was so frustrated that the other day I started going on Alibaba looking for, small Android devices that had standard size SD card slots that I could put like a 256 gigabyte SD card in and then use it in my car. That's where I've come to right now. I'm going to build my own damn player. Unfortunately, the only thing that's like big enough or almost big enough is the iPod Classic, the 160 gigabyte version. So, yeah, out of curiosity out there, guys, if I made an MP3 player for like $300 or something that was like, I don't know, 256 megabytes or megabytes, yeah, right, gigabytes. Would you buy it if I put it on the store? I'll call up a factory in China and do it. I want it for me.
Yeah, we're totally going to get that on Alibaba.
Yeah, I'll go on Alibaba and I'll custom make something, or I'll freaking go to China and talk to some people, and then have it made in a factory that doesn't whip people and throw bricks at them and make people want to jump off of the top of the building. I'll make sure that it's humane for China. Yeah. Anyway, stuff that I think about during the week. Whenever I get angry, I'm like, I'll just do it myself. Build the damn thing myself. All right. And what's next? Oh, yeah, Linksys. So this is an interesting article here on Ars Technica. They're complaining about their uber expensive, WRT-inspired devices. They've got a few WRT-inspired devices they're trying to resurrect. So they say the WRT 54G, which was just a classic router. The reason that router was so freaking classic is you could install anything on it. Your DWRT, OpenWRT. I believe you could even install Tomato firmware. You could use it for SIP. You could use it for all kinds of things. We even had it set up at one point where Kane had it set up. He would install, oh my God, what's the name of that voice over IP software, the open source one?
Asterisk.
Why my brain? Asterisk. He was put asterisk on there, send it to somebody else, and then from their location, you could call him at his location in like New York, and then they would be like, "Oh, is Spanx there?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, hold on a second. Let me just dial his extension," and it would connect you to Spanx in Australia. You could do all that kind of stuff with that simple router. Well, they've tried to capitalize on this, and they're releasing a bunch of uber expensive devices that do not do what they say they are going to do. And I'm yelling at these guys. We saw this thing, and we nerded out about this at CES last year, and we're going to go to CES this year. And we want some answers, guys. You guys promised, like DWRT, OpenWRT, and still to this day, it is not there. Where the hell is the support for the open source stuff that you promised? Why?
In fact, we did a review where I just held the box up and shook my head, and then we just put it away.
I don't know if did we ever release that review? I don't know. I think we should just put that online.
I think it made its appearance in an episode of The Tech because it was 30 seconds long. It's like, look, here it is. Don't buy it.
It's really sad. I really wanted to be excited about that. Oh, Belkin Linksys. All right. So the Mars One program. I guess is it already time to talk about science? Oh, I guess it is already time to talk about science. The Mars One program launched in 2012, and what they were doing is they were getting people to sign up to go and colonize Mars, and then several 100,000 people signed up, and I think they weeded it down to something like 74 people. And MIT sat down and did a feasibility study. And they've decided that, hey, listen, if you're going to be one of these first people that go to Mars, well, you're probably going to spontaneously combust on the way, or you're going to drown in oxygen, or you're going to starve to death, or some terrible other thing's going to happen. Maybe you'll be eaten by a Martian grue. I don't know, but their study is pretty damn grim. The problem is that they're going to be taking a lot of flora along with them, and that produces a ton of oxygen. But the problem with it being all sealed in like that is you're going to have an environment that's almost too rich in oxygen. So they're going to need to ventilate the oxygen. But if you ventilate the oxygen, you're also going to ventilate the nitrogen, which you really need for atmospheric pressure. And they don't really have a way, as of yet, scientifically, to ventilate the oxygen without letting the nitrogen release. So there's a big problem. And the other thing that, if you have an environment that's just that rich in oxygen, if you don't suffocate or die or go crazy first or whatever the hell happens when there's too much oxygen in the air, there's also danger of spontaneous combustion. Just, oh, damn it. Steve caught on fire again. We had to put him out. I had the oxygen in the air. I could barely do it because I couldn't see straight. I'm so damn high on this oxygen. So, and then after all that's said and done, they're saying that people are probably not going to have enough food. There's just a problem with getting enough supplies to them. So if you're one of the first who goes to Mars, Godspeed, you're probably going to die, according to MIT. It's sad. Unless they figure something else out. We have to have some other breakthroughs. They're as it is now, we're probably not ready yet. Their feasibility study is pretty interesting to read. If you guys want to check it out, you guys can do so. There's a PDF here on their website. But you know what would make things a bit more feasible? Well, Lockheed Martin says that they have figured out compact fusion. Not fission, freaking fusion. They figured it out, and they figured out a way to do it in a compact way. You guys can go and watch this video. It sounds good. People are freaking out. Everyone's excited. It's got a couple 100,000 hits in a couple of days. It's not as good as a video of a dude putting fireworks up his butt, but that's pretty good for a science video. We haven't seen it yet. They're going to have to build prototypes, and they're going to have to test it. So I'm going to remain skeptical until I see fusion created by humans. That's like how does fusion work? It's like the ions, electrons and ions separate, and then it gets so hot that the ions join back together and produce like 1,000,000 times more energy than a chemical reaction.
Fusion is just you're adding protons at a very basic level. You're just adding protons. You're adding. Okay, that's a terrible explanation, but
that's all you're going to get out there.
Think the type of reaction you need to transmute one element into another element, and that's okay. That would apply to fission as well. Damn it. Well, anyway, yeah. So it's going to be the utopia of energy for the future of the Earth, and so Lockheed is like, yeah, we got it. But scientists are like, oh, no, not so fast there. And there's also this other article about this guy who has another different kind of fusion that's making nickel 58 into nickel 60 and copper.
That's easy. I do that all the time.
Both of these things came out at the same time. And it's like, wait a minute. Is this part of the military-industrial complex of the U.S. trying to unseat Vladimir Putin by driving the price of oil very low?
Ding, 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 ding. That's it.
Am I so cynical that that's the first thing that I jump to? I mentioned the other paper, the one that's on Extreme Tech or whatever. It's like basically a tabletop fusion device. The paper is hilarious because they're like, this is clearly not tabletop fusion. Let's take a look at it. And they actually take a look at it, and they go through all the different chemical reactions that it might be, and they explain why it's not any of those. And at the end of the paper, they're like, well, the only known process that'll actually go from A to B, which we're detecting on our instrumentation, to go from, I think it was nickel 58 to nickel 60 or nickel 58 to copper or something.
It's nickel 58 or nickel 60 to nickel 62.
Nickel 62, okay. And so it's like, well, the only known process to do this is nuclear fusion, but clearly this device is it's not nuclear fusion. We just don't know what it is. And it's like, okay, well, they spent most of the paper trying to say why it wasn't fusion, and they came up empty-handed. And it probably isn't fusion. Like, I would be surprised if it actually is fusion. But at the end, they're like, we don't know what's going on here. This does actually merit further investigation. And it's like, hey, this is actually good. Some other people have tried to test this before and come up empty. And so it might actually be that this is part of the whole, let's drive the price of oil really low and unseat Putin. I don't know. I don't know.
So let me get this straight. They're Putin in his place, and at the same time they're raising a ton of money for themselves because they're going to get the U.S. government and several other governments to feed a whole bunch of money to this military-industrial complex machine because look what we have developed, look what we could develop. We just need a little bit more money to develop it. And, by the way, I'm also your cousin, and I used to be in charge of some government agency. So give us money. That's how it works, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, that is pretty much exactly it. And if you would like this whole story in song form, the Capital Steps have can service you there. They've got a version of this whole story called "Putin on the Blitz," done to the tune of "Putting on the Ritz."
Putin on the Blitz.
Yeah.
I need to see this. Oh God,
not another copyright strike for things. No.
Yeah, it's time to take a word from our sponsors, us. Here's our store, everybody, Epic Pants. We've got some new stuff in there that's more awesome than the things that were on there before. Except those things are still awesome, but these things are new, and new things tend to be awesome because they're new. I don't know, it's like when you give a dog a new toy, it's always like, oh, I want the new toy. Anyway, here it is. We got some new cool shirts. I'm wearing one of them right now. It's the, I guess this is kind of a Skyrim homage. I don't even know. It's designed by one of our members, and it's got this dude with the, our epic Burning Earth logo shield, and the Raise the NSA shirt is good. We need to get very serious about that, and yell and scream. I think I've sold enough stuff. I don't feel like selling anything else. Is today a Squarespace day as well?
Yeah, the last 2 weeks of October, the last two. Oh, I guess it'd be the 23rd and 30th. So no.
Yeah, we're
next week and the week after will be Squarespace, as will the first 2 weeks of November.
So you guys prepare yourselves for our Squarespace advertisements. But this week, we're supporting ourselves with our own advertisements. There we go. All right, back to the regularly scheduled tech. Let's talk about Quantopian. Okay, this is an algorithmic-based hedge fund. So you're supposed to throw a crowdsourced algorithmic-based hedge fund. So we throw our money at this and we let this algorithm determine where our money should go, and then maybe something profit.
Womp womp. Yeah, we don't actually know. So this is one of the few times where we're not going to look at something and be like, oh, here's our opinion on this, because we don't actually know. So if any of you guys out there that are hedge fund managers or algorithmic day traders, take a look at this thing and see what you think. They've opened up their API platform so that anybody can do it, and it seems to be a fit of the fittest. They've said some of the people that have been using their platform for the last year or so are statistically far and away from the other people using the platform, and so they've been invited to use apparently a more advanced version that has more features for algorithmic trading, and they're opening up some more data sets to these data scientists or whatever they are. And so this could actually turn into a crowdsourced hedge fund. And so I'm going to keep an eye on this, because that might be something to invest in. That might be pretty cool, but I could also lose my shirt. So you guys look at it and let me know.
I don't know. Their slogan is "Get your hedge out of your ass," so they couldn't be that
bad. Exactly. It looks like an interesting idea, but is this the smart person's Kickstarter where you're just throwing your money away? I don't know.
All right. all stuff on Kickstarter. So anyway, here's a few really interesting pictures of Washington, which is the quantum computer that's being developed. I have nothing to say about this other than the fact that these pictures are very high res and very interesting looking. They do not look that different than traditional computers, but hey, everything we've got right now has to be somewhat similar to traditional computers. All right, so yeah, if you guys want to go see some interesting pictures? I almost said picture. Mang, you want to go see some interesting pictures? I feel like I'm back in Miami right now, Mang. You go look at these pictures here of Washington. Is a quantum computer? That's enough of that. I don't do a very, very good job with that accent. And if anyone says I'm racist out there, I will come to your house and shake your hand and say, no, I'm not. It's funny, I can do like Welsh or an Australian accent, but whenever I do like an accent, like a Mexican accent or something like that, Mexican accent? Yeah, Mexican, that was Mexican, not Spanish Mexican. The people are like, oh, you're such a racist. Why is that? I don't understand. Moving right along. Wind energy. Oh, apparently it's good, according to Reuters. In the Nordic countries, wind energy is now the way to go. It's doing a lot better than fossil fuels. So there you have it. It's pretty windy over there. It's not like that crazy. Yeah. And then
not
solar
entirely
energy
unexpected.
Yeah. I mean, those countries always know what's up, it seems. Maybe it's because they actually, go to school and learn math.
Unlike America, which makes me sad. Really, the people that are watching, I think the younger you are, the smaller the pool probably is. You can probably confirm this. Did you just start high school? Are you about to start high school? We kind of have some younger people in the audience, I think. Are you part of a shrinking pool of people, and your peers are increasingly proud of the fact that they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground? That's really bad and scary. And it's like, oh, you're going to take over the earth, but not really. None of these old people that are on robotic life support will continue to maintain their wealth. The gulf is only going to get larger, and you're going to end up working for Starbucks, and it's going to be bad.
It's Stupidity is very cool these days. It's like the new thing. Stupidity is the new black, but not in my world. Anyway, oh yes, let's talk about games. It is that time right now. I cannot wait for this, and I know we're not going to get a copyright strike because these guys are awesome. Skywind, there's a new trailer. Skywind is, let me pause it because you guys have to see all of it. Well, you guys can go watch the video on your own, but Skywind is Morrowind. I've got it back over there on the shelf now. I'm so happy that I found all that stuff and put it on the shelf. It's Morrowind in the Skyrim engine, so the combat's going to be more Skyrim style. Some people like that. In Morrowind, there was an invisible dice roll behind every single attack that you did. So sometimes you'd be swinging, and it physically looks like, hey, I'm hitting that thing, but little do you know you're rolling 1s and 2s, and you're actually not doing any damage or not actually hitting. But with Skyrim, if you physically hit something, you physically hit something, and it does damage. So it'll be a little bit different in that regard. But the main thing is that the world is being faithfully recreated. The characters are being recreated. They're redoing some of the voices. Are you doing a voice in this, Wendell? Maybe?
Maybe. I think so. I've forgotten what the details on that are.
I will really, I haven't done the stupid voice audition thing. Guys, can I just... I want special treatment because I have a YouTube channel. Can you guys, give me a freaking voice without me doing the audition? I'll do it. Just send me the script. I'm being a diva right now. I'll try not to do that ever again. So anyway, this is just the West Gash, a very beautiful area that looks almost like Utah or some parts of Oklahoma. I don't know why I said that. It looks like Morrowind, guys. It doesn't look like Utah. It doesn't look like Oklahoma. It looks like freaking Morrowind. I love the architecture in this game. It had I think it had the best art style, best characters, and the most hardcore plot out of any of them. So, yeah. Check that out when it comes out. Soul Contingency. I want to talk about this for just a minute. A group of guys got together, maybe girls, I don't know, I'm not going to be sexist here. Girls are allowed to program too. Anyway, got together and they started working on a faithful recreation of the original Descent game. It was the first game that really gave you, don't do this to me, it gave you 6 degrees of freedom. It was pretty much similar to Doom, except you're in a spaceship and, it's still a corridor shooter, but you had up, down, left, right, upside. 6 degrees of freedom. You can go almost anywhere you wanted to. As you can see here on the screen, well, they were recreating a very old game. Interplay sent them a cease and desist letter, so now they are no longer to use any assets that are owned by Interplay. And, I believe that they were given some time to respond, and they just didn't do it, so they were, Interplay just cut them off and said, nope, you guys cannot do this. But their response to this was pretty interesting. And I'm going to encourage these guys. I'm not even sure if they've sat down and had this epiphany yet, but they say that, hey, Interplay, you guys own all of the IP that is Descent. But you guys do not own this type of game. You do not own 6 Degrees of Freedom, and you do not own, corridor-based space shooters. So they're going to continue to make the game and just remove all the elements that had to do with the IP known as Descent. And I want to encourage you guys. This game looks really awesome. I would play it. In fact, I want to play it right now. I've loved Descent. And I'll definitely play this game. Go ahead and keep making this game. It looks beautiful right now in the state that it's in. But make it your own thing. You guys could absolutely sell this thing. It would work. There's I feel like there's a hole in the market for a game like this right now. We had Fury, and what else do we have? We haven't had a lot of games like this.
I think
definitely a hole in the market for this.
I watched all this unfold with the King's Quest games, and I think that ultimately Sierra did not behave completely sociopathically with the King's Quest IP, and it would
with the remakes.
And it would be nice to see Interplay behave the same way. Now, I could be totally misremembering because of an awesome marketing campaign by Sierra, so I'll give you that disclaimer. But I want to say that they were able to work it out, and I'm sort of disappointing that Interplay did not work it out. So I don't know what's up with that.
All right, moving along here. This is from our forum here. Grassy Loki. Grassy Loki. What kind of name is that? Does that mean that you're like a clever little devil who's always rolling in the grass and itchy? I don't even know. Grassy Loki. All right, could be a cat's name or something. Anyway, console companies want developers to purposefully cap PC FPS at 30. So here's basically the deal. Sony and Microsoft have gotten together and they've said, hey, Ubisoft, listen, man, we got these consoles and they look kind of shitty compared to the PCs, and we can't have that, man. So what we want you to do is we want you to take out some of those lighting effects that are all fancy and stuff, and then we want you to cap it at 30 FPS so that everyone can have the same experience. Because what we want to do is we want to market this and say, hey, the PlayStation 4 is going to be the premier experience of Fallout or Far Cry 4 or whatever freaking game we're making. That's what they want. How messed up is that? And Microsoft is one of the parties that is asking game developers to nerf their games so that the console versions can look better. Microsoft.
It's kind of surprising, but let's take this with a grain of salt, because this is only one report from one developer in Ubisoft, which admittedly is not a paragon of virtue as far as game companies go. So, we don't know what the full story on this is. It's easy to imagine these companies doing this because, we've seen the AAA titles. We've been keeping a close eye on that on the console side. And there are a few AAA titles for both PS4 and the Xbox One that are not coming out at full res, or they're coming out at less than 1080p or 960p or whatever, and there are maybe frame rate and architecture issues, and that's not good because these consoles just launched. Consoles are supposed to have a 5-year lifetime and a 5-year time frame. So does that mean that PCs are already, they are already to a point where a mainstream PC or even a low-end PC has more computational horsepower available for the graphics? Because the games that they're working on today are the games that are going to be out in 6 months or a year. And so we've got the 9 series NVIDIA chips that are out, and the successors to the R9 290X, the current AMD flagship, that's got to be just around the corner. So in 6 months or a year, what is really high end right now may be mainstream. So in 6 months or a year, the graphics power that you've got in an R9 290X may be the kind of graphics horsepower you get from a $200 video card. And at that point, you could probably do a $350, $400 kill your console PC and get twice the performance from the console. And I mean, that could be as little as 6 months away.
The next article I brought up, I don't even know if I want to touch on it. The whole Anita Sarkeesian nonsense where she was going to go to the University of Utah or Utah State University, and now she's no longer going because Utah has a law where you're allowed to carry weapons and that sort of thing. And apparently there's been some pretty heinous threats against her if she shows up, like really disturbing, messed up stuff. I guess I'm going to say a few things about this. I don't feel exactly qualified to say things about this because I'm a man talking about feminist subjects. But here goes, and bear with me for just a moment. This is not going to be... If you're a feminist, it's probably not going to make you happy because nothing does. All right, so Anita Sarkeesian, right? She goes and she makes a bunch of videos about feminist things about how women are being mistreated in games. But I feel like a lot of times with the feminist stuff, it's grown women like her getting really upset about comments made by idiot individuals on YouTube and Xbox Live, many of which are just dumbasses or like young 12-year-olds on Xbox. I think a lot of the serious game developers out there, like John Carmack, one of the feminists in the audience asked him a question like, why do you not hire as many feminists? And his response was just like, I don't care what they look like as long as they can code. And he just stopped talking right there, and everyone shut up, and it was a moment of silence. It was beautiful. So I don't know where I'm going with that exactly, but what I do want to say is yes, the women are not represented as much as men are in this industry. And if you're a woman who wants to get into the industry, ignore the 12-year-olds and just make your game and do it. Ignore the negative comments. We get a ridiculous amount of negative comments. And if I focused only on the negative comments, and if I always felt as though I were a victim, I would not get anything done in my life. It may be worse for you, but I'm just saying, like, power through it, man, because I want to play your video games. I want to play your games bad. I want to play everyone's video games as long as they're interesting and all that sort of thing. But I also want to speak to a lot of the the misguided 12-year-olds on the internet who are just very angry about, the fact that Anise Sarkeesian didn't do a very good job with her journalistic research and she stole other people's content. And so they're attacking her. She goes on stage and she constantly says, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. We are all victims. The females are victims in this world. And what's happening? Well, they're becoming victims. People are targeting them and threatening them. So that's not what needs to happen, guys. If you want her to go away, and if you want, her to be replaced by more in-depth, legitimate journalism in this area, what you need to do is not threaten her. Is not threaten to come to her house with guns. What you need to do is completely ignore her. In my opinion, she should not be as big as she is. So yeah, that was kind of my rant 30 right there.
I don't know enough about the situation to really objectively be able to tell who has been wronged and why and to what extent. So it's
on both
like
sides,
a
really.
boondoggle. Yeah, well, I mean,
it's on both
it seems
sides.
like a boondoggle.
Yeah, it's a mess, and I don't weigh in on it like much, like I said, because I'm a male. And then as soon as you weigh in, like, you're a man, what do you know about anything? I'm like, well, all right, I can tell that she didn't do a very good job with her research. That's a big problem. And, she tends to ignore, conveniently, games like Dreamfall, which has a great female protagonist who actually wears clothing. So, anyway.
I really enjoyed Dreamfall. That's fun memories.
There's a new one coming out here. Let me go over to good old games right now. A brand new Dreamfall. This was actually a Kickstarter game, and this new one looks really interesting. The voice acting looks pretty good. Graphics look pretty nice. I think it's a Unity game. But I highly recommend checking out the old Dreamfall game, and then the game that came before that was The Longest Journey. So check those games out, but I would imagine this one will be something you could play on your own, even without playing those games. Also on good old games, Legends of Grimrock 2. This looks pretty cool, but I'm just going to skip over here. GOG Galaxy. So they've finally done it. They are finally creating their own online platform similar to Steam. The problem with Steam and the problem with a lot of online platforms like Uplay and Origin, you kind of own the games, but you don't really own the games. You can't play them anytime you want. There's DRM that's constantly there, checking and phoning home and all that sort of thing. But with GOG Galaxy, it's going to be a platform, and there's going to be online play, so it'll be matchmaking and all that sort of thing. It looks awesome because it's DRM-free. Wow, this is what I've wanted for a long time. I mean, I generally prefer GOG to the other platforms just for the DRM-free stuff. But, I usually end up having to keep everything in a giant shortcuts folder on my desktop. So if I want to play a certain game, I just open up that shortcut and then play it. Steam is just far more elegant. You have all your friends there. You have your nice games list and everything. It's just very well organized, and it's a nice community. So if this can turn into a nice community as well, this may be my new platform of choice. Looks very awesome.
I'm all for anything that makes managing things easier.
Yep, and while allowing you ownership over your digital content, that's really awesome.
Well, that goes without saying. I guess I wouldn't want to allow some sort of Cthulhu monster in. It's like, oh, hey, Randy, how's it going? Can I play some games? No. Okay, thanks, Randy.
That's about it. I think the only article we missed was the Linus Torvalds article where he said he made a metric shitload of community building mistakes, which is kind of funny. You guys should go and read this article if you're curious as to where Linux came from. I also want to recommend Linus Torvalds' his biography. I forgot the name of the biography. I just read it not too long ago. Something about fun. I don't remember.
Fun is hard work.
No, I don't remember what it was. I'm going to have to Google it right now. But anyway, I'll let you say a couple things about this Linus Torvalds article while I Google that, and we'll say goodbye.
There was a kind of inflammatory article about Linus Torvalds and how he runs the community, because he can be kind of abrasive. And he's like, well, no, it's not really that I'm abrasive. It's just that no one can hear you being subtle on the internet. And so, he has to use over-the-top language and things like that in order to get his point across. But I think also it's probably the type of people that he's dealing with by and large. But the context of this is there was an article that was written by a well-known, relatively well-known blogger a few weeks ago that's like, oh, the open source thing is a hostile place, and new people are not welcome, and this is the problem that Linux has. And Linus did not completely disagree with him. Linus was like, well, yeah, I mean, I've certainly made my share of community building mistakes, a lot of them. He used more colorful language than that, obviously. But it's a really interesting read, and it's really interesting insight into Linus's personality. And so it's fascinating, if for no other reason than that.
I'm going to sympathize with him just a little bit here, because I feel like I am I'm kind of a curmudgeon on the internet, and I don't say the right things, and I'm not politically correct, and I'm not like, if someone says something I disagree with, I'm usually like, go screw yourself, like right there on Twitter or whatever. I don't care as much, and if people knew who I was, I've had some people flame up and like, I can't believe you, man. I'm like, you guys don't know that I'm actually smiling. And if we were in person, like usually I'll meet somebody. I met some people at Quake conference, and they're like, wow, you're really nice, and I'm like, what did you think? And they're like, I don't know. Thought you might uppercut us. I was like, oh, I'm terribly sorry.
I've read your tweets and I'm afraid of you. And it's like,
yeah, it's like, oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'm a curmudgeon, and I promise I'm not that much of an elitist or anything like that. I just like PCs, and I like things my way, and I welcome your opinions as well, as long as they're exactly what mine are. And I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I found that book.
Opinion again. What is happening? Yeah. I don't understand.
Everybody shut up. I have an opinion.
I have an opinion, and you will listen to it.
I found his book. It's called Just for Fun, The Story of an Accidental Revolutionary. And I thought it to be quite fascinating. And some of his, beyond some of the things that he did for the computer world, inventing the Linux kernel and, just that sort of thing. Beyond all that, his philosophies on life are pretty refreshing. So I recommend that you guys take a look at that. And, the audio CD is what I actually did, because I was flying around, and a lot of times it's difficult to have a book on while you're walking through the airport or whatever. So I just, got the audio, not audio CD, but the audio book or whatever, and listen to that. So, yeah. And if you sign up now, use the code word Syndicate for Audible. We don't have a code word. We don't have one. Yeah. So, quick question, guys, before I leave. Now that we have 2 channels, one for hardware and other stuff like that, and one for our standard shows like the Tech and WASD and Inbox and maybe some PC builds and that sort of thing, would you guys like to see videos on stuff like this? This is a Samyang lens here. It's I believe these are handmade in Korea. Really nice lenses. This is a Cine lens. And on the bottom there, that is a Metabones speed booster. And I'm asking you guys this because we don't typically talk about camera gear. I love camera gear and I love audio gear. Those are 2 things that I probably get into the most. I get into motherboards and graphics cards because they enable my game playing, not because I'm exactly an enthusiast about motherboards and graphics cards. Like Wendell is way more qualified in this area than I am, but I'm probably more qualified in the lenses and probably like headphones and audio gear. But that's just because you probably haven't read as much junk as I have, and you could probably be more qualified in 10 minutes with a lot of this stuff. But what I'm asking is, would you guys like to see some videos on this stuff? It would be very easy for me to create this content, and I would enjoy it, but I don't know if the audience wants it. So if you do, let me know. And as soon as our new employee starts tomorrow, then we can do it.
I think they want all kinds of new stuff. We've got all kinds of tutorials and stuff coming up. FreeNAS can do VirtualBox now, and
oh god,
so
I need a
FreeNAS video is just going to be, hey, we're going to do an update to our old Nosferatu, and something about Nosferatu, blah blah, a NAS, a home NAS. Now you can run Windows on FreeNAS or anything you want, and it runs fine. Going to need 16 gigabytes of RAM, but it runs really good, and it's kind of awesome. And it's sort of silly to have a home server that's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, but if you're serious, 16 gigabytes of RAM. You can get some cheap servers on eBay. Hell, you can get a machine on eBay that's got 4 hard drive slots, 72 gigs of RAM, and 2 quad-core processors for like $450. That's a dual socket 1366 quad-core. So it's nothing to sneeze at. It's a little bit of a power hog, but not for a home server, that's pretty good. And I think our next NAS video, the name of the NAS is not going to be Nosferatu. I think it's going to be Giganstore.
You've just given someone an idea. We need to be selling this stuff in our store. Yeah, maybe we will. The big problem right now has been a manpower problem, because I keep firing everyone because I'm an elitist snob. No,
you're just not a people person. I'm not either. I don't feel bad.
You somehow managed to retain all your employees without killing them all.
Well, we do have, if you can see on either side of me, I can spread out the full wingspan here. We've got the Pandora, which is a new case from BitPhoenix. It's got an LCD screen in the front, and we did a build with this, so that's coming up. This is actually the 6-core X99 with the EVGA platform, and then over there we've got the NZXT S340, and it's on the Asus X99 Deluxe platform. That's the 8-core, the Extreme, and both of these have 32 gigabytes of RAM, and so we're going to have build videos coming up on both of these just as soon as they get edited. And there's stuff that I put together and benchmarked and things like that. And so, you know, the EVGA has got the Plextor M6 drive, and Asus has the Plextor M.2 drive. And so lots of fun, lots of craziness, lots of general insanity. It's sort of a lot of fun building those. I really like the Pandora case is a fingerprint magnet, but it's really aesthetically, it's pretty cool. And the S340, hey, look, if you're an insane cable management person, the S340 has unbelievable cable management. Like, I was blown away. You can do dual radiators in there and all sorts of crazy things. I got the X61 in the front, so the hardware videos for this are going to be amazing.
All right, last thing, guys, be sure to subscribe to our hardware channel, because as we move forward, we'll be putting a lot of this content on that channel rather than our main channel. Our main channel is going to go back to the roots hopefully soon. Again, it's a manpower issue, and we're going to fix that, and then we're going to move forward. And, you know, it'll be awesome. Like the old times, eh? All right, guys, thanks for watching, and thanks for checking out our store, our sponsor. And thanks for checking out us, our sponsors. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Can you do me a favor real quick?